and welcome everyone to the Planning Committee. But before we start the meeting, I have a few housekeeping announcements to make. Firstly, there's no planned fire alarm test today, and if you hear the fire alarm, please leave by the nearest fire exit and make your way to the agreed assembly point, which is the St John Churchyard off Jewett Street. Council security staff are available to direct you as required. The public toilets are located off the main reception area. There is a refreshment machine for use by members of the public in the waiting area outside this meeting room. And finally, please switch your mobile phones onto silence whilst in the meeting room. This meeting is being live streamed on the Council's YouTube channel. Members of the public are welcome to film, audio record, photograph or tweet the public proceedings of this meeting. I'd ask you please be considerate to other people in the room and take care not to disturb the meeting, and if you are filming the meeting, please do not film the audience. The code for accessing the Council's Wi-Fi, it's FR33 Wi-Fi followed by an exclamation mark. I know there's some logical reason why it's an exclamation mark. I'll go on. During the meeting, members of the committee will not access the internet except as it relates to the official business of the meeting, send or receive email, text messaging or tweet concerning the business of the committee. I will now start the meeting formally. Item 1, apologies. I see we have a full house. There are no apologies, of course. Item 2, confirmation of voting members. Please, for voting members of the committee, indicate by raising your hands. Thank you. 3, notification of any item of business which the chair deems urgent, and members, I believe you now have in your possession a members pack, and please ignore the front face here, the sequence may be wrong, and of course you should now have a copy of the late observation addendum report on your desk. Can you confirm you've all received those documents? Excellent, thank you very much. In that case, I'll move on to item 4, disclosure of interest and dispensation. Does any member wish to declare any interest or dispensation in respect of any item or issue to be considered at this meeting? Are there any declarations? Very good, thank you very much. I now move on to item 5. This is minutes of the last meeting, and there's an apologies that the minutes of the meeting held on the 18th of January 2022 are not available as yet, but will be presented for agreement at the next meeting, which is scheduled the 22nd of February. I'll now move on to item 6. The development management. Now, the next item of business concerns the determination of planning applications. I would like to remind everyone of the committee's guidance and conduct of business. Officers will present the report, outline their recommendations, and answer questions raised by the committee. And if present wishing to speak, the following may then address the committee for no more than 3 minutes each. A spokesperson representing any objector to the application, and by now you need to identify a single spokesperson. If more than one objector wishes to speak, the time will be divided accordingly within the 3 minutes time slot if there are more than one objector, followed by the applicant or their agent, and then indeed followed by a spokesperson representing any supporter of the applications who live within 100 metres of the development site. And last but not least, a ward councillor representing the area affected by the proposals. Now, ward members in attendance and those nominated to speak on behalf of objectors, supporting applicants should ideally sit in the front row of the public gallery. And this is really for ease of communication between the committee and speakers, and in case any issues need to be clarified later in the proceeding. And of course, it would not be an opportunity to take part in a debate of the committee. Each speaker ideally should restrict their comment to the planning aspects of the proposal, should avoid repeating information which is already in the report. The meeting, of course, is not a hearing where all participants present evidence to be cross-examined by other participants. We're not a court. But of course, at the end of each representation, the committee may ask questions of each presenter. Speakers should lead the committee on the subject on which they would ideally welcome further questioning. After receiving all submissions, the committee will debate the application and consider the recommendations. This, of course, is a council committee meeting which is open to the public, and of course there should be no interruption from the audience. And finally, I would like everyone present to know that although the planning committee comprises members of different political parties, we are not politically whipped. Our decisions are made in accordance with the Council's planning policy and based upon the information contained in the relevant report, together with the consultation responses. Any verbal submissions made today, how we approach these applications are set out in the Development Management Report on item 5, and if members are content to note the report, I will move on to considering the planning applications. Are you content? They are. I think they are. Okay. I'm now going to slightly modify how we would make the usual presentation. I'm going to ask that item 6.1 and 6.2 are presented as a single presentation. Okay, and this is because, of course, this is the same application, and of course the two are interlinked. Okay, and indeed I will also modify the sequence of those who present to the committee. I'll invite the supporters to speak first. Okay, I'll then move on to the objectors, followed by the applicant, and if present, a ward councillor. I trust committee members that's okay with yourselves. Thank you very much. In that case, then, I'll now move on to item 6.1, which is reference 21 AP 3247 Creden House and Verney Road, that's London SE16 3BA, and also item 6.2, which is reference 21 AP 3246, which of course is 2 to 10 Ossory Road, London SE1 5PA. Okay. I'll now invite the presenting officer to first introduce yourself, and you can make your presentations. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Troy Davies, team leader for Old Kent Road, and I am the case officer for both schemes. So, yeah. As mentioned by Councillor Seaton, these two schemes are owned by the same developer and are linked through a Section 106 agreement. They will comprise of 50% affordable by habitable rooms across the development. And we'll start with item 6.1, which is the Creden House, Verney Road. Where do I go to slide? Sorry, just having an issue here. Oh, there we go. Yeah. So we have the first item is the demolition of existing building to comprise of a 9-storey building with a Class E floor space at the ground of 82 square metres. The existing site is 0.05 hectare site on the corner of Verney and Varco Road. As you can see, to the north is Verney Road, and to the north is Varco Road, and to the west is Verney Road. It's located within site allocation OKR 13 and is on the edge of that master plan, and is also located within the Old Kent Road opportunity area. Oh, sorry, just there we go. The existing site as it looks now. So on the top left-hand corner, we have a look southbound from adjacent from Batwa House. To the bottom left, we have looking northbound along Verney Road. To top right, we have a view from adjacent from the completed pocket Varco scheme on Varco Road. And bottom right, we have a view looking eastbound from Creden Road with the site outlined in the red dots. The site is located on the northern edge of the Old Kent Road OKR 13 opportunity area. As you can see there with the red rectangle around the site. On the left-hand side here, we have areas within the AAP that are defined as to needing to provide public open space. As you can see on screen there, this site has not needed the requirement for public open space. Nevertheless, a public open space shortfall has been secured through the Section 106 agreement. On the right-hand side here, you can see the typologies for OKR. In the map here, we have a residential ground floor use, but that is that's been substituted out for affordable workspace on the ground floor with this development. Here we have a look at what the scheme will look like in the surrounding area. So again, on the left we have a view looking southbound from adjacent from Batwa House, and on the right hand side we have a view looking eastbound from Creden Road. The development will provide 22 residential units comprising of 8 one-bed units, 7 two-bed units and 7 three-bed units. This will be in the social rent of the link schemes. 63% of the units are 2 beds and over 10% are provided as wheelchair accessible. The development would provide the 82 square metres of affordable workspace, which is secured through the Section 106 agreement. The workspace would provide an uplift in 8 jobs, and as you can see on the screen here, its position on the corner there activates both frontages on Verney and Varco Road. Looking at a typical floor plan, due to the condensed layout, we have no more than 3 cores per floor. All of the rooms exceed the minimum floor standards, and because of the 3 cores per floor, all units are 100% dual aspect. On the left here you can see a cutout of what OKR 13 looks like in the Old Kent Road AAP. At the top corner there you have the site highlighted in red, and as you can see on the right here how the site would sit next to the completed Pocket Varco Road development. And as you can see between the 2 sites, it's the outer edge of the master plan has the smaller heights, and these are in line with the aims and objectives of the AEP regarding height guidance. Regarding daylight sunlight, the most affected properties are at Batwa House, and in the surrounding area, however, the majority of the windows pass the 0.8 BRE recommendation, and of the windows that fall short, they range between 0.4 and 0.78. Undertaken was a daylight and sunlight assessment, which found that 24 units at Batwa House would be affected by the development. 12 of the 24 open plan developments would surpass the daylight distribution recommendations, while the other ones would fall short, and this is because of secondary windows. Of the ones that fall short, it is important to note that whilst these are single aspect, they are also deep rooms in excess of 5 metres, and the BRE guide acknowledges that if an existing building contains rooms lit from one side only and are greater than 5 metres in depth, then a greater movement of the no skyline may be unavoidable. Design and materiality of the scheme. The material finish to the development involves a stretcher blonde through coloured brick in a plummy tone with white pigmented precast concrete and metal work finish consisting of powder coated colour in Iodox deep red. The mix of materials to finish are well conceived and executed, and in addition the inclusion of full brick reveals of 215 millimetres complies with the objectives of the AAP, and the conditions regarding materials along with the brick reveals have been secured by condition in the decision notice. Here we have the communal amenity and sustainability slide. So the communal amenity will be provided on the 8th floor terrace. It has a south-facing aspect, so we'll receive an abundance of daylight throughout the day. The urban greening factor has been maximised on site. The CO2 savings consist of 73.1% for the residential and 66% for the commercial, and to achieve carbon zero, the carbon offset payment of $22,566 has been secured through the Section 106 agreement. Here we have the play space slide. So the play space has 117 square metres for up to 12 years old, provided at the ground floor level. As you can see on the right here, it's accessed via the private gate from Verney Road and also from the ground floor of the development. A shortfall of 109 square metres is secured through the Section 106 agreement, And final details of the play space has been secured by condition, which will require sand and tap play to be part of the provided details. Here we have public realm. As stated previously, it's a corner site, so the active frontages to both Verney Road and Barco Road enhances the relationship with the street scene. The development is set back from the roads to increase permeability with pedestrians moving past the site. Regarding transport, as you can see here highlighted in yellow down at the bottom there is the residential cycle storage. It's got secure and accessed by the gate. For the affordable workspace in the light bluey green colour there in the centre, that is the cycle parking space for the affordable workspace. The amount of cycle parking space provided is policy compliant with the London Plan and Southwark Plan, and also members to note that this will be a car-free development as well. Here this image shows how the development will sit within the context of the area. So on the left we have that north looking view again from Verney Road, how it will sit next to the completed Farco Road pocket development. And on the right here we have a view from the T Marchant industrial estate. On the left here we have a view looking from the corner of Farco Road as it goes around the bend there with Batwa House adjacent. And then on the right we have a view from Creden Road near the intersection with Farco and Verney Road. So to summarise the scheme, there's 22 affordable social rented units to the borough's housing stock. Cycle parking is in accordance with the London Plan. There'll be an uplift in employment opportunities provided, a high quality of accommodation for future residents, and the development complies with the aims and objectives of OKR 13. So I'll just take a sip of water before we go on the next one. Item number 2 is 2 to 10 Ossory Road, and this is for the development of a Part 1, Part 10, Part 11 story building on the western side of Ossory Road, comprising of 421 square metres of Class E floor space at the ground floor with 117 homes above. As you can see here on the right, the site is located towards the northern end of Ossory Road, near to the junction with Old Kent Road. It's currently inhabited by a photo box company. It's a 2-storey building with an L-shaped footprint, and it is located on the western edge of OKR 10 within the Old Kent Road opportunity area. Here we have 2 views of the existing site. So the top one is taken from the junction of Old Kent Road and Ossory Road, and as you can see in the bottom here is a close-up view from Ossory Road of the development. And in the background there you can see Hyman, which was granted planning permission last year for an 11-storey building. About Pocket Living, about the developer, they're a private developer which specialises in building space-efficient compact units of accommodation in London at a lower cost and without public subsidy. Pocket units are principally 1-bedroom units and space compliant with minimum 38 square metres, and they are designed specifically for single occupiers who wish to own their home outright or sold at a discount of 20%. As mentioned in the other scheme, there was a completed pocket scheme recently. That's the one on Varco Road. We have a bit of a buyer profile here, which the average age of purchasers was 30 years old. Average household income £44,000. And the statistics of who bought these pocket units breaks down as follows: 46% lived in the borough, 35% worked in the borough, and 19% both lived and worked in the borough. Here we have the Old Kent Road 10 plan. As stated previously, it's located on the western edge of the opportunity area next to the Glengall Road conservation area to the rear. On the left here we have, again, the site does not need to provide public open space in accordance with the AEP ambitions. Nevertheless, a public open space contribution has been sought and agreed in the Section 106 agreement. On the right-hand side here, you can see the typologies map and highlighted in red is the site which can accommodate, the AAP would prefer the site to provide small office space, and this has been provided on site. Proposed views of the development. This is an outline, this is with the massing approved in the outline of the AAP. As you can see how I sit here, just to the south of the site is the height of the higher scheme that had been approved, and on the right hand side that is the massing that's in front of the development seen through. This development will provide 117 residential units, of which 39 units will be in the intermediate tenure as pocket units. 10% of the development will be wheelchair accessible, and the private units of the 78 which will have private amenity balconies. As we can see here on this side, we have the proposed ground floor. To the southern end is the light industrial floor space provided. This will be high spec industrial floor space, and with the development creating active frontages through to Ossory Road, which is on the right hand side of the diagram there. As you can see, there's a centralised access for the pedestrians, and then to the north is access to the cycle area and so on. Also with the 421 square metres of high spec light industrial space, there will be an uplift in employment opportunities on site compared to the existing scenario. Here we have a typical floor plan. All units exceed the minimum floor space standards. There was 4 dual aspect units per floor, and to avoid a single long corridor, the floor plan has been laid out in an L shape so that this would not have someone come up and then have to walk the whole length of the corridor to get in. So with the centralised core lift, they'll be able to ease of access to get into their flats. Here we have building height demonstrating on the left the two-storey dwelling houses that are on the western edge of, the eastern edge of Glengall Road Conservation Area, and to the right side we have the approved Malt Street scheme in the centre. So we have our site highlighted in the little red dots there, and this slide demonstrates the transition in height between the back of Glengall Road Conservation Area and into that centrepiece of Old Kent Road 10, which is the Malt Street area. The impact on the... sorry, I lost my page here. The impact on the conservation area. So on the left here we have an existing photo of how it currently looks, and on the right is how it will look when looking eastbound through between the two-storey villas on Glengall Road. As the majority of views are between looking north and southbound, the views are much more hidden away behind the eaves of that development. The development is hidden behind the eaves of the Glengall Road homes, and it is therefore considered that there would be less than substantial harm on the conservation area, and this is significantly outweighed by the development providing affordable housing, an uplift in employment on site, and high quality light industrial floor space, to name a few positives of the scheme. The development would provide two contrasting brick colours of varied brown, proposed in line with the historical and residential elements to the south and west of the site, with a grey brick finish complementing the civic areas closer to the Old Kent Road junction. The scheme is expressed as 2 vertical blocks with a horizontal recessed brick detail around the building from the 2nd to 9th floors. The design and materiality of the scheme is well articulated and complies with the aims and objectives of the AAP's design guidance for OKR 10. As with Creden House development, the 215mm brick reveals are proposed, and this, along with the conditions relating to materials, have been secured in the decision notice. As we can see here, this is a breakdown of amenity and sustainability on site. The diagram here on the left, it shows where the communal amenity is provided. At the top left there, highlighted in the reddish purple colour, is 224 square metres. of amenity space at the first floor terrace, and in the yellow on the side there at the 10th floor is a 56 square metre more quiet terrace for people to enjoy views around. And then we have the intensive green roof proposed there in the green, and this has maximised urban greening factor on site. The CO2 savings on site consist of nearly 69% residential and nearly 60% for the commercial. And to achieve carbon zero, a payment of £69,540 has been secured in the Section 106 agreement. During our consultation period, some objections from Glengall Road were received expressing concern of the distance between the development and the rear of the properties fronting Glengall Road. As with the approved Hyman scheme to the south of the site, as you can see just on the bottom of that diagram, you can see the Hyman site. The development is set sufficiently away as to not detrimentally impact the Glengall Road residents. And this next slide will just have a demonstration of the before and after effects of the development. So here on the left we have how it currently sits with the access to natural daylight. So as you can see, the majority of properties have clear except for the back there behind the Old Kent Road properties. There's a bit of dark green there. And then on the right, once the development has been implemented, as you can see, due to the sufficient distance away, the development would have minimal impact on the loss of light, natural daylight to even the backyard spaces of Glengall Road residents, with only a little minor harm to the properties at the north, at 434 to 452 Old Kent Road. Here we can see the public realm again, active frontages all through, as you can see those arrows on the site there onto the right of to the ground floor plan. As you can see they're the frontages creating to open onto Ossory Road to enhance the relationship with the street scene. Again, the setback will improve permeability for pedestrians moving past the site. Here we have in green is located the residential cycle parking, which again is policy compliant with both Southwark and London Plan standards. And also again, members to be notified that this is another car-free development. Here we have the proposed views again, how it will sit without the massing detail on the left there. And then on the right with the approved Hyman height in front there. To summarise this scheme, it's 117 new homes to the borough's housing stock, of which 39 are in the intermediate tenure for pocket units. Cycle parking is in accordance with the London Plan. Again, an uplift in employment opportunities, high quality of accommodation for future residents. There'll be less than substantial harm on the Glengall Road conservation area, which is significantly outweighed by the public benefits to the scheme. And again, this scheme is compliant with the aims and objectives of OKR 10. And to summarise the link schemes, 139 new homes to the borough's housing stock, 61 affordable units comprising of 22 social rented units and 39 intermediate, which is 50% across both schemes. Cycle parking, again in accordance with London Plan, uplift in employment opportunities on both sites. 503 square metres of industrial floor space, of which 82 square metres is affordable workspace, and again compliant with the aims and objectives of the Old Kent Road AAP. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, and well done. Thank you. Are there questions from the committee members? Councillor O'Brien. Quite a few hands. I'll start from my left going down. Let Councillor O'Brien go first. Okay.
Two very quick questions. The first one, you keep talking about wheelchair accessible units. Are they wheelchair accessible or wheelchair adaptable?
They are wheelchair adaptable. That was me.
Yes, okay, that's fine. I just wanted to double check that.
Yeah.
And my second question was, for the Verney Road, the Varco Road, for the social housing, has an RSL been signed up to manage that block? Do you know?
Colin, did you bring
Not at the moment. But one of the things that we will be exploring is perhaps that could be something that the council might invest in, should it get planning permission.
Thank you, Councillor Bryan. Councillor Whittam, that's right, yep, and Councillor Soames, no? Did you? I'll just take you in sequence, you see, so okay.
Thank you to the officer. Pip, you're here, so I'll direct this question to you. I'm a bit perplexed that the original site for the Creden house development has a PTAL of 1, and then when a manual assessment was carried out, it's been uplifted to 3. Can you just expand upon how you've managed to achieve that figure? Because, you know, a 7-minute walk with units of 3 bedrooms, I would still consider that a considerable length of time and distance from a station to the proposed site in terms of public transport. So could you just tell us and elaborate how you've been able to...
The calculation is based on 3 elements at the moment. One is existing. One is the existing, and actually it's a very short walk to 2 different bus routes. You've got Ilderton and you've got the Rotherhithe New Road, but you literally walk through the Bonamy estate, and it's 5 minutes walk to buses that will take you all the way to Canada Water, to Bermondsey Tube Station, as well as into Surrey Quays and down to Peckham. Then the South Bermondsey Station is there, and again, it's not a very long walk to that station. So that's 2 elements, and initially one was based thinking about it being permeable down to the Old Kent Road. So that's where the confusion lies, is because you can't walk directly through the site down to the Old Kent Road. You'd have to go to Alderton. So it had been misjudged. So it is more of a 2-3, and it has been walked frequently by myself and my colleagues to time that you can get good access in a not very long walk. Then just to remind everybody that although the BLE is delayed, the new Bermondsey station, which is again about 500 metres walk from Verney Road, is on target to be delivered in the not too distant future. That funding was secured prior to TfL's current problems. So it's better than was originally said, because everybody was measuring it as if you were going to have to walk right the way round to get down to the Old Kent Road, which was untrue. And now you can be on public transport to a variety of destinations within a 5 to 8 minute walk, which is deemed reasonable in PTAL terms.
And is that deemed reasonable in terms of parents with young children?
Well, I think so, because it's just past the school. The bus stop is just past the school, which they will be walking to. So on Ilderton, and just by the school on the other end of Verney Road. So I think that parents would deem that a reasonable walk. And they are contributing to the bus in any case. So one of the areas where we'll be increasing bus services is on Ilderton to the new station. So we've already done the test run to show that it works. So there will be further improvements to bus connectivity in the area, even if the BLE is longer delayed than we hope. So that's why I judged it as not too problematic, Councillor.
Thank you, Pete, for that response. Councillor Whittam.
I have several questions.
We go to Pete first of all.
Okay. You keep saying that the space standards have been met. Can you just remind us of the space standards for a one-bedroom flat in the Southwark plan and the new Southwark plan?
In accordance with...
In accordance with Colin, do you know the standards off the top of your head?
So, sorry, I couldn't quote them, but I'm just looking for them at the moment, actually. In terms of the space standards, Councillor Whittam, the one-bed private sale meets those minimums because they're private sale. But as Troy pointed out in his presentation, the pocket homes offer, if you like, is a slightly smaller one-bed flat, as has been provided in the completed scheme on Verney Road. But where they are affordable, so the social rent and the private sale, including the provision of balcony space, they meet both our standards in the New Southwark plan and also in the London plan. But as with the pocket home offer, there is a variation on the one bed. I think you had it on the slide.
Yeah.
There, Troy, if you want to pull that up. I'll just look up. And I'll just see if I can find that in the report.
I can help you. The space standards for a one-bedroom flat in the Southwark plan and the new Southwark plan is 50 square metres. So the pocket living does not meet that standard at all. And there is no meaning to the word pocket in our policies. It does not appear in our policies. So it should not be...
Sorry, Councillor Whittam, if you could put a question to him, we can talk about
so
the...
why are
why
we relying on the word pocket to give smaller homes?
Yes, perhaps if I come back on that one. As Troy was putting out in his presentation, the offer for pocket is particular at the moment to them, and the affordability in perpetuity is maintained as an intermediate offer. So there isn't in that sense an opportunity to staircase to kind of convert the intermediate into fully private. The discount always carries forward with it. But part of their model is that the space within those one beds, I think it's 38 square metres. So yes, it is less than the New Southwark plan one bed standard, but that has been the pocket approach, and kind of what we're doing is taking a balanced view over the whole scheme. The pocket offer, as completed, as Troy was saying, does seem to have been a very successful offer, and our recommendation is on the basis of the overall offer of both the conventional affordable housing and the pocket. And when the scheme was, there's reference in the report from Troy to the schemes, the previously refused scheme on Ossory Road, which was 100% pocket homes. And I think one of the reasons that was refused was lack of social housing provided within that scheme, and so the applicant has taken that away and has come back with this scheme, which does have the conventional housing, both in terms of the tenures offered, but also in terms of the size of the units. So there's a 3-2 one-bed mix. And also in terms of the size of the units in the private sale and also the social rent. But you're right, the pocket offer it isn't something that we identify in our policy in the New Southwark plan.
So we're being asked to approve a scheme with unit sizes less than our policy, which
Sorry, Councillor, if you could direct a question to Troy,
Yeah.
and we can have a debate later on. And
Yes, okay.
That particular question you might want to address to the applicant when they come up. I'm just keen for snappy questions so we can
Yes.
move them forward. If not, I can always return to you, Councillor Whittam.
The next question is on dual aspect. To be exemplary design, we have to have a majority of dual aspect units. We're down to 34%. That's not exemplary. Can you explain why you accept that?
In this scenario, we take a view that the public benefits of the scheme significantly outweigh the shortfall of the, well, let's say the lack of percentage of the dual aspect homes in the Ossory Road scheme. We have 61 affordable homes on offer here to the borough's housing stock, increase in employment opportunities, play space added, high quality industrial floor space provided, for affordable workspace provided as well. So we take a viewpoint that the public benefits of the scheme outweigh the shortfall in percentage of dual aspect in the Ossory Road scheme.
It was a question, yes, as opposed to a commentary. Yeah, right.
Well, just to ask again, why are we accepting that so many of these pocket homes have no private amenity space, especially since in lockdown we know that private amenity space, outdoor space, is absolutely key to people's mental health?
I will let the Pocket team answer that question for you. I will just like to let you know that the private homes, the 78 private homes in this development have the balcony space, and I will let Pocket answer the question regarding their amenity space.
Thank you very much, Troy. Thank you. Good to have you, Mike. Councillor Livingstone.
Thank you, Chair. I've a huge number of questions, so I might only ask a few of these because I'm very three. That's fine. I will try and be very snappy, Chair. Thank you. First question is whether I'll ask them all in sequence and give you the opportunity to answer after. First one is just whether the community review panel has had the opportunity to look at the revised proposals. The second one is about the CPZ and to understand what would happen if the CPZs weren't agreed, because obviously the car-free elements here, we're assuming that the CPZ would be there to police those, so to understand what happens if the CPZ was not agreed, to be able to police that. And my third question is going to be based on the Addendum report and the comments from ASDA about the Ossory Road development, and just to get your observations on that.
To answer the first question, this one did not go to the CRP.
CPZ programme, the consultation has on both sides of the Old Kent Road. So we've got CPZ-T extension on the south side and the new OKR CPZ on the north side. The findings of the informal consultation that's taken place were largely supportive. But because of the timing between now and the election, it's unlikely that we will finalise the programme till after the election.
Just to confirm, that's for the Ossory Road.
For both.
Sorry, so consultation, because I think we've not reached the end of the consultation for the northern site for the Old Kent Road one. Oh, we have. Okay.
Sorry, we have now, or both the consultations were happened before Christmas, but they were kept open over the Christmas period. The draft reports have gone to the cabinet member for which is for permission to do the formal consultation, and if that is successful, then we will deliver them in the summer. And then all the new developments, they're permit-free, will make sense then. And we've made a particular effort to protect the existing residents on Bonamy Estate to make sure they're happy. We actually did live consultation with them so that they, as part of the process. So,
thank you. So just to conclude, we can't prejudge, obviously, what the Cabinet member will decide on these things, but the risk seems minimal or relatively low.
All I can tell you is that CPZs are essential for us to be able to manage the curbside space, whether we've got new development or not now. It's absolutely crucial for the climate change emergency programme, and the more we control the curbside, the more comfortable and road safety it is for the walking and cycling in the area. So the proposal that my colleagues make makes total policy sense, and the only thing would be local people objecting. And as I've said so far, the objections have been minimal because the overall benefit of parking for a few or amenity for all makes more sense, I think, nowadays, especially because of the COVID restrictions and everything. So
thank you,
I hope you agree with me that the risk is manageable in that situation.
He's not going to respond to you right now. Okay, that's okay. We might have a debate later on, but thank you, Pip. Thank you. The last question, of course, was as the acoustic survey. Who's going to respond to that? Commercial or residential, as it were?
Perhaps I'll respond to that, Councillor Seaton. And just briefly, in terms of the community review panel, we have tended to prioritise taller buildings to the community review panel, as requested by ward councillors. And because we only have a limited number of slots, that has taken the community review panel's time up over the last year. In terms of noise survey, there are... the applicant has undertaken a noise survey and is already proposing acoustic installation to the scheme, and Asda have been in contact, and they were expressing concerns about their servicing yard, which is more or less opposite the site. So what we have proposed in the decision letter is a condition which requires the submission of a further survey. The work that was done, there are two ways of doing surveys. One is in residential areas, the other one is in commercial areas. And Asda pointed out that they felt that one should be done as it was for a commercial area. So the condition is requiring that, and it's also requiring submission of further details to meet that acoustic mitigation if there is a need to provide further mitigation on Ossory Road. So we think we have covered that aspect off.
Thank you very much, Councillor Livingstone, for your questions. Councillor Williams, did you? No? Okay, Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you, Chair. I think I only have one question because the others have been answered.
Very good.
It's kind of a point of clarification regarding how we should be analysing these applications. So, given there are two applications, should we be, for the purposes of reviewing the policies against them, be treating them independently of each other, or as they are presented here, be treating them as one? So, in other words, more practically, with respect to the social housing element that's on one of the sites, should that be considered as a contributory factor in assessing the affordable housing on the Ossory Road site?
Yeah, we take the viewpoint that looking at both schemes, it's taking the benefits, putting them together, because they are going to be linked through the Section 106. So it's all about taking from one and looking at the other as well, and looking at them, combining them together to the end.
And just to add to Troy's point, the factors we've taken into account are geography. So the sites are relatively close to each other, ownership, they're owned by the same developer, and they are in the same ward. So I think it would be the case that if we had sites which were miles apart, or if we had sites which were in, say, very high value areas, say along the river, and we had another site somewhere else in a low value area, we would probably take a different approach. But because they are close, because they're in the same ward, and because the same developer can be bound by the same Section 106 agreement to guarantee the delivery of the social housing and the intermediate housing, we feel that in this instance it's a reasonable approach to consider the two sites together.
Okay. That's fine.
The legal officer is going to make comment.
Chair, if I could just add that because affordable housing is a material consideration and the affordable housing here is being delivered across both sites, you're well within your rights to look at both of them together. Therefore, if you were minded to refuse one, you would probably have to refuse the other at the same time. I think you'd have to look at them together because, and again, this depends on how much weight you give to affordable housing as being a material consideration. But it would be reasonable for you to deal with them together and listen to them together, but there'll be two separate motions and two separate resolutions.
Understood, thanks.
Excellent, thank you very much. Councillor Caldwell.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Troy, for the presentation. I've got a question on carbon offsetting, which you mentioned briefly in your presentation and is mentioned briefly in the reports. And I understand we can't get into the debate about how far carbon offsetting is a meaningful policy that does what it's intended to here, but I just wondered if you could give me a bit more sort of understanding of how those elements of the negotiation went with the applicant. It's sort of contained within, I think, a simple sentence that just says that net zero on-site aspiration was unable to be met. Were there sort of prolonged negotiations, or is it a simple sort of calculation that you sort of present as an alternative to any real effort to reduce the carbon emissions?
Thanks for your question. It's in regards to the energy statements that are submitted with each application, and the three things of be clean, be green, and be lean. So he's factoring in all them together. You'll get the percentages, which are around the 70% for the residential in both scheme and slightly around 60 for the commercial, which is relatively high, and we don't see many higher than those figures in Southwark here. Obviously, there's still the stage 2 process to go through, which GLA will look at the energy as well and recommend maybe imposing conditions if they seem fit. But in terms of what they've submitted and how they've approached it, everything's in accordance, and what's written in the report in those three sections gives a detail of what's going to be put in there, like air source heat pumps, etc., to provide those savings on site.
Thank you. And you said that the percentages you mentioned you thought were reasonable, or you know, they were above average. If they had come in lower, would you have just accepted a higher offset payment? Is that how it works, or is there back and forth on this issue, given the priority that this borough and I'm sure others are increasingly giving to this?
If there is, say, below 50, we would tell them to, try and find better savings on site, because it's not really a good enough saving. You'd have to be pushing up towards that 60% to be what you would consider a really good saving, and that's in line with GLA's comments from the stage 1 as well.
Thank you very much indeed. And if I can ask if Councillor Livingstone and Councillor Whittam, if you could hold your questions, I'm keen to move on to the presenters, because there's some time limitations, and we can always return to your questions later if that's okay with both of you. Thank you. Right. I will now press on. I said earlier on that what we will do is move to the supporter first of all, but just a few pointers for those who are contributing and providing evidence to us that this meeting is being live streamed, and a recording will be available on the Council's YouTube channel. When introducing yourself, only give your first name, block or street where you live, but not the exact details of where you live, okay? And lastly, of course, you'll be given 3 minutes to make your presentation, unless there's more than one, it'll be divided between you all. Now, I believe that we have a supporter in the room. Can you just make sure the supporter is actually in the room, first of all? Good morning. Good morning, did I say that? Good evening, even. You may come forward. Come forward. Is it Anne? Anne, is it? Very good. And as I've said, if you could just introduce yourself, and if you could just confirm the street or postcode, I think might be just could we have a requirement here? Thank you. It's not connected. Right. There you go. If this could just confirm your name and the street or postcode where you live.
Yep, I'm Anne and I live on Barco Road.
Very good. Welcome. I'm now going to invite you to make your presentation 3 minutes. 30 seconds remaining. I'll simply say 30 seconds. You may begin your presentation now.
Great, thank you so much, and thanks for taking the time to hear from me. I'm not a great public speaker, so if you don't mind, I'm going to be reading notes on my phone. I wanted to speak in support of the application for new homes at Creden House, which is next to where I live. I'm really supportive of the proposed homes for social rent, including homes for local families, and I think it's great to see this type of affordable housing coming forward, particularly when we're all kind of faced with a rising cost of living and renting's becoming really unaffordable. I also support this application because it's linked to the other application, which was similar to mine and provided me the opportunity to get my first place. When I first found out about Pocket, I actually didn't think it was real. I didn't think I could be able to still live in South Bermondsey. And I've spoken to this committee before about how I've benefited from the space and the sense of community that it's given me. And before Pocket, I rented privately, experienced the insecurity that private renting brings and how expensive it is. Remember being told by one landlord that if I opened my window, I wouldn't be able to shut it, which I thought was a basic concept of a window. But I'm also really supportive of the homes that will be affordable to local people who need them. So, as I mentioned, I live next door on Barco Road, and this was also built by Pocket, and I've seen firsthand the kind of quality that Pocket builds, and their developments are of a really high standard, and I'm quite hopeful that this will be the same on Creden House. I love the area. I volunteer for Southwark Food Bank, and before COVID, I was at Park Run. I'm also a strong advocate of the Bermondsey Beer Mile as well, so big fan of the local community. And without Pocket, I would have had to probably move back to the Midlands. I would have had to probably find a long-term partner as well, because the housing doesn't help, single people. And all of this would have been tricky, so I would have had to leave my friends and my job. I've been renting in 4 different properties in London over the last 10 years. This is the first kind of place that I've felt at home. And where everyone looks out for each other. I hope more people can have the opportunities that I've had to put down the roots, support families and get a securely social rented home, and help first-time buyers like me get on the housing ladder. I do hope the committee supports the application for Creden House and Ossory Road, and I just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to hear from me. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Just turn off your mic for a moment. If you hold a moment, we may have a question from the committee members. Is there a question? Councillor Livingstone.
Thank you, Anne. Thanks for your presentation. I just wanted to ask, following up with a question from one of my colleagues earlier, about how living in the sort of smaller space standard how you've been able to manage that during lockdown of the pandemic, and whether there's been space available to keep yourself sane in those circumstances.
I think we all went a bit insane with the pandemic, but overall I think in terms of Pocket space, it's been really helpful. Like, it was a lot bigger than, I know it's called Pocket, but it was a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. And actually they've got quite a few communal areas where you can go in and work, like I could work from a different area if I wanted to split from working in the kitchen, say going into one of our rooms, our work rooms, but also they have balconies, and that was really helpful. So we actually then had a socially distanced first floor balcony meeting with neighbours, which was quite nice because we didn't really we kind of spoke to each other, but now we got to know each other a lot more. And you've got a balcony at the top as well, so sometimes when it's really sunny, you got to go out there. But when I was renting, I was literally renting around the corner, I would have been stuck in my bedroom all day. And I wouldn't have been able to do anything like that. So I know it does say Pocket, but it's a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. Thank you.
Very good response. Thank you very much. Are there further questions to the supporter? In that case, and thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. Can I now move to objector? Is there an objector in the room? Yes, please come forward. And is your name Dan?
I am, yes.
Oh, welcome. As I've mentioned earlier on, that this is being live streamed, so this is not a problem. But can I ask you just to confirm your name, and are you a member of an organisation? If you're a member of an organisation.
No, I'm not.
Okay,
No.
very good.
So-
In that case, then what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you 3 minutes to make your presentation. That's 30 seconds. I'll indicate there's 30 seconds remaining. That's right. You may now begin your presentation.
Hello, my name is Dan. I've lived 14 years at Batwa House. Yes, thank you. Okay. This week we were blessed with sunshine and light streaming through our windows on Varco Road. That light will be gone once Pocket Living has completed their project, the Creden House 9-storey tower. The Creden House tower block will simply be shrouding us who already live here at Batwa House in darkness. We, the neighbours who live opposite the site, have collected 50 signatures representing 50 local households objecting to the development of Creden House. Apart from stealing all our light away, the Creden House tower block will also, with its additional flats, overcrowd an already far too densely populated corner of Varco Road, where 8 to 9-storey buildings were recently razed, one of them being Varco Road number 1, built by Pocket Living themselves. With the addition of the Creden House tower, which is very clearly disproportionate in the context of the lower buildings in the immediate surroundings, and for the narrow 10 to 12 metre wide residential street, we will end up with overcrowding and congestion in what would be a dangerously overpopulated corner, with soon approximately 200 homes in total. The sheer density of residents in this limited space will be the root of a lot of stress and aggression and potentially breed antisocial behaviour. In addition, we have now also experienced 2 summers of loud, late-night parties being held on the Communal Terrace of number 1 Varco Road. Pocket Living, providing yet another big communal terrace at Creden House, is encouraging more outdoor parties in our small corner of Varco Road, where the sound of loud music and projected voices echo and bounce around the buildings. For residents who need to work and need their sleep on a school night, it is a nightmare and more than lowers our quality of life. In terms of Southwark's need for more housing, there are already many plans and projects meeting this need around the Old Kent Road and also surrounding Millwall football grounds for a whole new town to be named New Bermondsey. A lot of new housing will be available in the near future, and a measly 22 micro flats, well, affordable for the few at just over 200,000, are not going to make a difference to the overall housing needs. Let's stop the pretense. Pocket Living is not the saviour, but only looking after its own pocket with a revenue of 57 million. And once they have achieved what they want, Pocket team members will drive away in their expensive cars, laughing all the way to the bank, leaving us, the locals, with nearly 2 years of noise, metal clanging, dust pollution, and workmen shouting across the site, making it impossible to work from home, let alone open a window on a hot summer's day. We, the residents of Varco Road, want civilised and well thought through town planning, not quick for profit opportunistic solutions. So summing it up, serious deprivation of direct light, overcrowding and congestion, and antisocial levels of noise from communal rooftop spaces. So please do listen to us. We don't want Creden House Tower in our street. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could you turn
Thank
off
you
your
for
mic,
listening to me.
please? Could you turn off your mic? Thank you. Other questions in the committee? Councillor O'Brien, are there other questioners? Councillor O'Brien, go ahead.
Hello, thanks for coming tonight and thank you for your presentation. Have you had sight of the BRE data on vertical sky component effects that will have on your building? Do you know what the numbers are? Okay.
I don't, unfortunately, no.
Okay. Let's see, yeah.
Are there further questions? Councillor Livingstone?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Dan, for coming along here and presenting to us. I wanted to ask Councillor O'Brien's question in a slightly different, less technical way, which is just to understand in terms of your own home, are you one of the, do you think you're one of the 12 properties that were identified in the report as being directly impacted in terms of loss of daylight and sunlight?
Yes, I am, yeah.
Okay, so your home, just as I understand it, is single aspect, so your only daylight is from the Varco Road
Yeah,
end. Okay.
and we see this as terrible news, basically. Thank you.
If you might, I can't hear you very well. Can you repeat what you just said there, Dan, so we didn't hear?
I said yes, and for us it's terrible news. Yeah, thank you.
Are there further questions to the objector? If not, I want to thank you very much for your presentation and responses to committee members' questions. Thank you very much indeed. I'll now move on to the applicant or applicant agents. I have quite a few names here on my list. Who is speaking? Come forward, come forward. All righty, can I invite you both to just confirm your name and organisation, please, first of all?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Alex Shillito. I'm a Senior Development Manager for Pocket Living. I'm responsible for the Creden House and Ossory Road planning applications. I'm also a Southwark resident. I live in Peckham in intermediate housing.
I'm Tamsin Renshaw, and I'm also from Pocket Living.
Very good. Thank you very much. Who is speaking?
I think, did you want to say something
Yes.
first?
I wanted to bring something to...
Sorry. Am I to split the time equally between you both?
Initially, yes, but you may want to reset the time when I've finished speaking.
Just so we're clear, maybe I should say again.
We'll split the time.
I'm going to give you 3 minutes to make your presentation, and I may divide depending upon...
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So are there 2 presenters or 1?
2.
2.
So I will split it 90 seconds each.
I need about 30 seconds.
Okay. So who's going first?
Me.
Right.
Thank you.
Fair enough. So as long as it's both clear,
Yeah.
a total of 3 minutes to make your presentation. Right, so I'll get my technology up and running. And you may begin your presentation. You may wish to invite I'm speaking, indeed, thank you. I was about to say, your microphone's closer to yourself. I hadn't realised that I was speaking without my microphone, but never mind. Closer to yourself, I will begin the clock now. You may begin your presentation.
Thank you very much. Before Alex does start, I wanted to bring everybody's attention to the new Southwark Plan space standards, which includes a space standard for 1-bedroom, 1-person apartments that is 37 square metres if the bathroom is a shower room, and 39 square metres if it is with a bath. The apartments being proposed here are 38 square metres with a shower, and therefore they exceed the space standards.
Thank you. Pocket Living is a small, innovative developer which is supported by the Mayor of London to deliver discounted, affordable homes for first-time buyers. We have previously delivered homes for local first-time buyers in Southwark at our Varco Road development. The applications before you tonight include social rented homes, pocket homes, and market homes across 2 linked sites, a total of 50% affordable housing calculated by habitable room in accordance with Southwark's policy. At Creden House, we're pleased to be offering 22 homes, all for social rent. 64% of the homes at Creden House will be 2 beds or larger, with 32% of the homes being 3 beds for local families on Southwark's housing list. 13% of the homes are designed for wheelchair users. All the homes at Creden House are at least dual aspect, some are triple aspect. They all exceed space standards, and they will provide an excellent standard of housing for those on the lowest incomes in Southwark. All homes at Creden House benefit from private balconies, in addition to a communal roof terrace on the 8th floor and child play space in a ground floor garden. Additionally, 82 square metres of affordable workspace is proposed. At Ossory Road, Pocket is proposing 117 homes, 39 of which are intermediate affordable homes and will be sold to local first-time buyers at a 20% discount. Pocket manages any onward sales to ensure that homes are resold to eligible local people and remain affordable in perpetuity. We carry out an annual verification process to ensure the homes are occupied by the purchasers to ensure that the homes are not being sublet. People on incomes below the Southwark Intermediate Housing Income Threshold will be the first to have the opportunity to buy one of these homes. We're also proposing 421 square metres of high-quality light industrial space on the ground floor. The space has been designed with light industrial occupiers in mind, with input from Vital Old Kent Road. The majority of homes will have balconies or terraces, and additionally the residents will benefit from 2 communal roof terraces on the 1st and 10th floor. Along with the linked application at Creden House for 22 social rented homes, the market and intermediate affordable homes proposed at Ossory Road will provide a range of housing to suit different incomes and needs across both sites, as well as high quality light industrial and affordable workspace. Happy to take any questions.
Questions from the committee? Councillor Ryan.
Thank you for your presentation. Is there anything more you wanted to add?
Yes, I was just going to say that if I find my place again, we did the scheme at Ossory Road, and that was delivered extremely quickly. It was just over 2 years from the planning committee to residents moving in. It was approved July 2019, and residents started moving in November. July 2017, and residents started moving in November 2019. So, if you were to approve the applications tonight, we would hope to match, or deliver quickly.
Thank you very much. Could you turn off your mic just to help the live streaming? I've got a few. This time I'm going to start from my extreme left. Councillor Caldwell moving this way. Councillor Caldwell, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks for the presentation. You will have heard from the objector who spoke a few moments ago about a number of his objections. I'm sure in the consultation process these came out. I just wondered if you would talk a bit about any mitigation measures that you have included. I suppose I'm thinking particularly about the open balcony, communal balcony space, which was mentioned as potentially creating antisocial behaviour, or at the very least creating a lot of disturbance for people in their homes. How would you respond to some of the issues the objector raised?
Thank you, Councillor Caldwell.
Sure. So, in terms of, I'll take your point about the terraces, the communal terrace. There's one communal terrace proposed at Creden House, and it actually sits on the 8th floor, and it is somewhat enclosed, but which will help protect any noise transference across to Batwa House. But also at the most noise sensitive times, access will not be allowed out onto that terrace. It'll be a time controlled door, so you would only be able to access the terrace between, let's say 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. at night, the same times that you're allowed to honk your horn on your car, for example.
Thank you. Please, ladies. Councillor Whitehead, or did you not have your hand up? You did, yeah. Okay.
Distracted. I have a couple of questions about about Creden House. So, my first of those is, so this is obviously 2 different sites in which you're planning to build, and I'm aware and recall the original application that was rejected by this committee. Could you explain the rationale for why you're using 2 sites here, and specifically why the social housing is on the Creden House site as opposed to the main site, given that Creden House is, as I understand it, less accessible from a public transport perspective?
So we are following the last planning committee with Ossory Road. We went back and looked at what we could do. to help address the concerns at that planning committee. And we had the Creden house site. That was a site that we owned, and we were bringing forward a planning application there. And we decided that we would try and provide the most amount of affordable housing possible, including 25% social rent. And through that design process, we did look at including that within the Ossory Road site. We didn't include it within the Ossory Road site because actually the best way to maximise affordable housing across both sites and provide an excellent standard of social rented housing was to locate the social housing at the Creden house site, and that's enabled us to have the dual aspect, triple aspect units. It's enabled us to have the play space, and it's also enabled us to provide the maximum amount of affordable homes. In terms of the accessibility, actually I would argue, and I live in the local area, I know the area very well, I would argue that Creden House is probably slightly more desirable in terms of public transport, because although the buses don't run around it, you've got a station within walking distance, which is really good. And actually, I get on that line from where I live. I get on at Queen's Road, Peckham, so I know how quick the trains are into London Bridge, and I've walked to that site a million times. So I think it's, I think it's a great site for accessibility, and we've already invested in that area at 1 Barco Road. So I don't think it's the lesser of the two sites.
Very good. Thank you for this.
One other question.
You may, yeah.
Thank you for that. Just in terms of coming back to the social housing again, you mentioned the speed at which you developed the Pocket Homes site on Varco Road. Are you committing to develop the social housing site at the same time as the site on Ossory Road?
Exactly.
So at the same speed. So we're not going to end up in a situation where Ossory Road is developed and then the social housing units will be developed at some later point.
We would commit to delivering the affordable housing before the private housing.
Very good. Thank you for that response. Could you turn up your mic for me, please, sir? Just turn up your mic. Just so this for the live stream, you say, just so that. Councillor Williams, no? Or Councillor Livingstone? Okay, Councillor Livingstone, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for your presentation. Councillor Whitehead answered his second question was a sort of critical one that I wanted to ask. I have one other question which you may or may not be able to answer because it's quite technical. It may be I need to throw it back to officers, but it's just to really understand how the Pocket Homes offer itself works alongside the government's policy around first homes, and whether the timing of this works with all that or whether it conflicts with it, and how all that works. I'm sorry if that's a very technical question, but it may be that officers need to help with that one. But if you can give us an answer, it'd be helpful.
I don't know if the officer. The Pocket Homes are not first homes. The first homes minimum discount is 30%, but Pocket Homes are defined as affordable housing under the NPPF and under the GLA definitions of affordable housing. And I also just wanted to bring the committee's attention to the fact that obviously the proportion of, whilst we are meeting the policy of delivering 25% social rented homes, we are very much over-providing on top of the policy requirement in terms of the intermediate offer here by about 2.5 times your policy requirement.
Very good, thank you for that response. Councillor Whittam.
You will have heard my question about balcony space and dual aspect. Any comments?
We will talk first of all about the balcony space. Our mission is to make home ownership accessible to the most number of people, and homes that are provided without balconies are sold at a lower value, and that prices in more people into home ownership. And that's why we are looking to obviously sell the Pocket Homes without balconies. It makes the homes more accessible to more people.
And single aspect?
So the Pocket Homes are specifically designed to be single aspect homes. They have a shallow floor plan, they have large windows, They've got big ceiling heights, and all of the homes at Ossory Road have been shown to have very high levels of compliance with daylight and sunlight guidance. Although not being dual aspect, they are designed to be single aspect and still be extremely high quality.
If a developing question here. Okay, a different question. Excellent. Go ahead.
The urban greening factor on both sites is well below policy of 0.4. And on one, I think it's 0.1 and the other on 2.1 or something. Can you explain how you might be able to improve that?
Yeah, I think the urban greening factor is 0.18 on one of the sites and 0.22 on the other, but I think the urban greening factor question, it might be best for officers to answer.
Thank you, yeah. Absolutely. Don't you worry, we'll definitely come to that, don't you worry, but we've moved on now. Councillor Soames, did you have a question or?
Accessibility has been already.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Soames. Councillor O'Brien, very good. In that case, I don't have a question. I'm going to thank you both for your presentation and responses to committee members' questions. Thank you very much. Thank you. I'll now move on, and if there is one present, is there a ward councillor in the room? Okay, very good. In that case, then we'll now go to a sort of general questions following on. If I may, take yourself and then followed by Councillor Whittam, the subsidiary questions. Okay, Councillor O'Brien.
I think I'm asking a question probably from at least three of the members here. This minimum standard of 38 metres, the applicant has just said that for pocket homes the minimum is 37 metres. I think that's thrown us into a bit of confusion. What is the policy?
Sorry, you had that.
50, isn't it? 50 square metres?
Well,
Sorry,
38
hold on a
screen.
second. We've got the question. Who's going to respond? Colin, you going to respond?
Yes. So if you look at paragraph 104 of 104 of Troy's Creden House report, it makes reference to the residential housing design guide, supplementary planning guidance, and as you know, the new Southwark plan will be formally adopted on February the 22nd, so very shortly. The supplementary guidance on residential design dates from 2011, and the one-bed, two-person flat there is, as you note, Councillor Whittam, down as 50 square metres. But on page 130 of the new Southwark plan, it has a provision for one-bed, one- and two-person flats, and within that, as Thomason confirmed, that there is a minimum of 37 square metres for a one-bed, one-person flat. So there has been a nuancing, if you like, of that policy. Although, I would note it says there is a one-bed, two-person, which is 50 square metres, and then a one-bed, one-person. I suppose the pocket point is that they provide a flat, and as the supporter identifies, a flat aimed at single people, although clearly there isn't a law about people living together, should they want to later in life. So you may end up with two people in that flat. I mean, they are designed as two bed bedroom, a sort of compact two-bed bedroom. But the view is we have that policy in as a one-bed, one-person, and it addresses the pocket product, if you like, and that has changed in the new Southwark plan, shortly to be adopted.
Thank you, Colin. And clearly, of course, the reason for committee members' questions is what's in the evidence in the report. And I want to make sure because you've read out what's actually in the plan, therefore our policies, but of course not in the report, and that's why the questions have been stimulated. I don't want to make sure, if maybe somebody could just respond to my query on this. Why is it not in the report, so that we're not led astray, as it were? Yeah,
Chair, I think when members making their decision today, their decision's based on what's in the report, what was in the oral presentation, what was raised by members of the public and by the applicant. So provided members have the information before them, either orally or in writing, that should be sufficient for them to be able to make a decision.
That's fine. I have to make sure I queried it because it's not in the report, but in my opening statement I make it clear that the evidence presented will be in the report and in all submissions, as the legal officer said. And so that's clear, but I need it to be absolutely clear what's actually in the policy, okay, in our policies. And it's been read out, and if I may say so, it's pretty clear, it's pretty explicit. I'm not going to take further questions on that particular issue because we're clear, it's unambiguous. And so, Councillor Caldwell, if your question is on that matter, I'm not going to take that question because it has been resolved. It's clear, it's in the policy, it's not being disputed. Are there further questions in that case from the committee? Councillor Whittam.
You have heard my urban greening factor question. Can you explain? Or can you tell me, I haven't gone through the conditions in detail, or the bats and swift boxes, things like that?
So we have secured those conditions with regards to bat tubes and swift bricks. And regarding the urban greening factor, it is acknowledged that it is a shortfall there. However, both the sites currently probably have urban greening of 0.000 something, because there's absolutely no greening whatsoever on each site. The sites are very constrained and they've been built out to their site, so where it has been maximised, it's been maximised as best as it could, and in line with the GLA's comments, they've acknowledged it, but they've also came to the same conclusion that they appreciate that the urban greening factor has been maximised as much as possible on site.
Could we ask for trees to be planted elsewhere, that sort of thing?
And just to reiterate Troy's point, the London Plan target is to try and get to 0.4. It's not an absolute requirement for all sites to get to 0.4 because, as the GLA acknowledge, if you have full site coverage, and we've had quite a few schemes, this kind of infill scheme where you do get full site coverage, it's not possible to get to 0.4, but you can certainly get a lot higher than we have at the moment, which is, as Troy said, zero, because you've got, in the Ossory Road case, you've got a site which is almost entirely filled by a tin shed, so there is no greenery on it, and the water runoff is really poor in the sense that all the water goes into the combined sewers. And on Ossory Road, while the building doesn't, on Creden House, while it doesn't occupy the entire site, the bit that isn't occupied is a concrete yard. So that's why the urban greening factor is so low, and also why the water runoff is really bad into the combined sewer. So there are two benefits, not only the urban greening factor, but also sustainable drainage. And in terms of tree planting, there is a contribution to off-site open space improvements. And certainly, Councillor Livingston will be aware that we are already starting to recycle money for open space from the Optivo schemes into nearby Bramcote Park. So we've already procured a team to take that forward. And the money here could certainly go towards tree planting as part of the open space contribution within the Old Kent Road.
Thank you very much for that response. Councillor Livingstone, did you have one? No. You're okay? Oh, Councillor Caldwell, yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just going back to the question I raised to the applicant about the communal balcony. I don't know whether we and the answer we heard was that it's likely that the balcony will only be accessible between a certain number of certain number of hours. I can't find anywhere in the report that states that explicitly. Perhaps I've missed it. If I have missed it, apologies if I haven't. Is it something that we can condition or at least seek to get some public statement from the applicant in the event that we're minded to approve this evening?
I think I've seen an indication from the applicant that there's a thumbs up. And Troy, do you want to make a further comment on this?
Yeah, if the councillors seem fit to impose that condition, then we'd be happy to put that on the decision notice, and clearly the applicant team is happy to.
Very good. Thank you very much, Councillor Caldwell, for your observation. Councillor Whitehead.
Thank you. Councillor Cornwell actually was flagging exactly the same point I was going to raise. But maybe just to add to that, if we do our mind as a committee to impose a condition, the applicant mentioned a time of 11 p.m. for closure. That seems quite late to me as in a residential street. This isn't an area where there's bars or anything, you know. I think it's a residential area, so I think we should perhaps consider an earlier time than that if possible. But in addition to that, I wanted to check, the applicant also made a commitment that they would deliver the social housing prior to the site at Ossory Road, and I was wondering, is that something that's currently conditioned?
No, that'll be part of the delivery controls in the section 106, that we would have all the social rented and intermediate in before the private sale, the sale of the private units.
So just to clarify, do we need to condition that as a committee tonight, or
No.
will it still happen even if we don't?
No, it's in the section 106 agreement.
As regards the hours, Colin, do you maybe want to comment on hours? I wonder if anyone...
I mean, perhaps it could be, say, 10. 10. I mean, the applicant would accept that. So.
All right, it's an interesting point, and I hesitate because I'm not typically making modifications to reports. Again, this is an item that maybe should have been discussed in advance. But in the presence of the applicant, I wonder if the applicant wishes to make any comment on the proposal to bring the hours forward by 1 hour to 10 o'clock. Agreed. Okay, that's agreed. So that'll be a further amendment to the conditions. Excellent. Yep. Are there further questions? Councillor O'Brien. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I am sympathetic to the concerns of the objector, to Dan. You mentioned that there are a number of windows that fail the VSC from 0.4 to minus 0.75%. 0.4 obviously is a very, very low number. Do we have the BRE data on Battle House, given that it's a single aspect property, which I assume means that single aspect is behind a habitable room? Do we actually have the data on that?
I don't have a report in front of me, but Colin does for the daylight sunlight.
It'd be nice to know what the actual...
in terms of the number of rooms affected?
Well, just that Dan's obviously worried that his property is going to be thrown into shadow, and that is that's what BRE is there for, the scientific sort of numbers, and I was just hoping we could...
Yes, so in Troy's reports at paragraphs 145 onwards, the daylight impacts are considered, and Troy's report acknowledges that that there are certainly impacts on single aspect flats, and I believe Dan, the objector, has identified that includes his own living space, which is single aspect. As Troy sets out, some of those impacts, and you committee members will be familiar with this, are exacerbated to a degree by existing balcony and setback spaces, but not all. So there are legitimate impacts on some of the rooms, including the objector who's here tonight. The report concludes that on balance, given the other public benefits and the extent of that harm, that we as officers are still recommending approval. But what we're not saying is that there's no harm, that there is some harm. I mean, there are other factors in play as well, including some of the flats are dual aspect, so where that harm occurs, there is another aspect. But as Dan, the objector, has identified, that doesn't apply to him because he's in a single aspect flat. So we absolutely acknowledge that, and we're not saying there is no harm at all. We have, Troy points out as well that the previous scheme, although that didn't get to committee because it was deferred following the refusal of the previous scheme. We have, as officers, negotiated a reduction in height of the scheme through the pre-application process to make it fit with the area action plan. So it has, through that process, been reduced in scale. But nonetheless, there is an impact on some of the residents. But as officers, we are saying that given the balance of benefits, public benefits, particularly around social housing, we don't think that harm is such that you should refuse planning permission.
Thank you. Question or commentary?
No, it's a question.
Okay.
Just in follow-up to what Colin was saying, I always find it difficult to conceptualise the BRE figures, partially because I don't document them for every application we look at. So for me, it doesn't mean a great deal what we're talking about unless we compare it to other applications. So it's a difficult question to ask, but are we talking about disproportionate levels of impact to residents here compared to an average scheme with similar densities on an average street? Is this extraordinary? Is this disproportionate? Is it higher than usual?
This, I think, in terms of comparison to other schemes, it is not dissimilar to the impacts that you would expect for schemes in this kind of location in Southwark, where you have an infill opposite an existing flatted developments of the scale of Battois House. So have we had impacts which are more pronounced than this on schemes which we brought to committee? Yes. So comparatively, our view is that this is not atypical for a development in this part of Southwark. And it's not an extreme example, but we do acknowledge that there is some harm to some of the flats in Battois House, but I wouldn't typify it as something out of the ordinary.
Thank you very much. Before I move forward with potential, any commentaries colleagues wish to make on what you've heard tonight? Councillor O'Brien, followed by Councillor Livingstone.
Okay. I have actually visited the Pocket Homes site, and I can confirm what Anna's saying, that they are surprisingly spacious given the floor area. They are very, very well designed. They also have very good Juliet balconies. You can open up the whole of the lounge area to get the outside in. The other point I wanted to make was, so the fact there's no balconies there is regretful, but I think for what they're very, very good value for money and very good stepping stones for young people wanting to get on the housing market. The other thing was with the new build attached to that building, unlike the building that's there, I think the demographics going to be different because we are talking about family homes as well. So whereas, to be fair, the Pocket Homes building that's there at the moment, it's full of young people that are more likely to make that noise. So I think the chance of noise issues from the new build are less likely than the noise issues being experienced at the moment.
Thank you, Councillor O'Brien. Councillor Livingstone, and followed by Councillor Caldwell.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I wanted to acknowledge, I thought both the presentation, well, all the presentations were very good, but I thought both the presentations from both the supporter and the objector, I thought were very good at identifying issues for us to be looking at. As you know, I was one of the objectors to the original Ossory Road scheme on the basis of the lack of social homes, and so I certainly recognise that the huge amount of work that Pocket have done to get us to a place where we have a scheme which, in terms of housing mix, is compliant with policy and would provide much needed social homes for the local area. And I think that is of huge benefit to the local area and the local community, providing those homes, much needed family homes for the local community. And so for me, I think that is a huge benefit of this scheme. I mean, the concerns there are the issues that Dan identified at the impact on Batwell House, and I can also understand the concerns of people at Glengall Road in terms of the impact on those properties, as well in terms of the height. But I do think overall, on balance, given the benefit this is providing, both for people who want to get there who would be priced out, as we heard from Anna, in terms of the new affordable housing at Ossory Road, and the new social housing there would be at Creden House. I think on balance I would support this application. And just very finally, because it was raised, my experience as a ward councillor in terms of the issues about transport, I was surprised to hear that apparently that first assessment, it's a PTAL 1. I think it is quite an accessible location. It's easily as accessible to public transport as where I live, and so I don't have any real concerns there about the transport aspect. And indeed, it is very close to two good local primary schools as well. So in terms of parents, I think it's both of which are within about 2-minute walk of this site as well. So I'm not concerned really about the transport aspects of this. I'm surprised it's a 7-minute walk to South Bermondsey station. It would take me shorter than that, but I acknowledge I'm a quick walker.
Thank you, Councillor Livingstone. At least we laughed. Councillor Coldwell, followed by Councillor Whittam. Councillor Coldwell.
Thank you, Chair. I found those last two comments from fellow committee members very helpful. I think most helpful of all was the clarification that we had that 38 square metres is policy compliant. That was very helpful to have that clarification. I suppose just a couple of quick points. I suppose there are a couple of issues that I feel a little bit frustrated that we can't in this forum push more on. I'm thinking about carbon offsetting and the urban green factor, which Councillor Whittam raised. That they're sort of nice to have targets, and it feels that if we as a local authority want to be doing more than these targets, then there needs to be some sort of intermediary mechanism that means we don't end up just falling back on, it's a target rather than any kind of binding requirement. But that's not something we can deal with this evening. I think the moving the opening hours until 10 p.m. was, I think it's a worthwhile thing for us to do, and I'm grateful we've got that commitment from the applicant. And I suppose I just might kind of gently suggest to the applicant that he's heard from a nearby resident about some issues that he's facing from the existing site, and he might want to follow up to try and see if there's any other mitigations. That's again not for us, but you're very close to one another, so I'm sure you'll be able to do that. And yeah, I don't have anything further to add. I'd echo the concluding comments of Councillor O'Brien and Councillor Livingston.
Thank you very much, Councillor Whittam.
Yes, I sat on the committee that refused the Ossory Road in the first instance. We were advised on that occasion that we should concentrate on the social housing aspect, but there were other considerations, including the size of the units, the dual aspect, or lack of, the number of flats on each floor, and I just feel that that part of this scheme has just been recycled without sufficient changes for me to feel it is worthwhile. I think it feels like we're warehousing these people or building rabbit hutches stacked on one another. I do think the other part of the scheme is very good, and I, under normal circumstances, would approve that. But I still can't approve the Ossory Road site.
Just making sure. Councillor Williams, did you indicate, or you were considering? Thank you. Are there further comments from committee members that to take note? Are you content that I go to a motion in that case? Okay, very good, very good. In that case, then, this is going to be an interesting exercise. So we've heard two presentations, two reports, but we are taking them as one, but there will be two motions. Take note of the recommended amendments to the opening hours, which I need to capture as part of indicative. And the second one is, of course, the second amendment. Got that right? Make sure I've got it right. There was a second amendment or not? There was not a second amendment. We talked about it. In that case, then we will not do that. In that case, thank you. Good. In that case,
Chair, sorry, Chair, just to flag up, there's amended recommendations in the addendum report.
Yep, I've got that here. I'm going to refer to that in a moment. Don't you worry. So I'll get that. Making sure our commentary, I've captured what amendments we've agreed. Councillor Livingstone.
Chair, and Councillor Caldwell might want to confirm this. My understanding was the first condition that we talked about was about whether there was sort of physical improvements that could be made to the balcony at Creden at the Barco site around managing noise, and then obviously the second one was about access to that balcony as well. So I think those were the two conditions that we talked about, and the applicant had given an indication they're in favour of, I think.
Yeah, I've heard it. It's a question of how you'd word that first description. It changes to a balcony. It's, yeah.
Sorry, Chair, can I just confirm, because I thought there was just one change to the condition. I can see the applicant nodding to that. I think we might need a little bit of clarification.
Councillor Livingstone. Yeah, Councillor Caldwell. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I thought the change was to do with the times at which people can access it, rather than physical changes.
Excellent. I just want to make sure of that. Thank you. So we're in agreement. In that case, now we'll proceed. And note, of course, the amendment made in the addendum report. I'll now proceed with the motion. So I'd like to move that we adopt the officer's recommendations set out in paragraph 1 and 2 of the report on page 12 of the main agenda pack. Okay, I've got it here. Oh, it is an addendum, of course it is. Okay, we'll get it right. Yeah. Okay, we'll do it again. We'll get this right, and I'm going to see it here. Yeah. Oh, these and these two. Okay. So just to make it clear, we'll get the motion right. This is always going to be complicated. Now, I'm now referring to item 6.1, of course, which is reference 21 AP 3247 Creden House. Okay, that's what the motion refers to, and I will read it out as follows. That planning permission is granted subject to conditions and referred to the Mayor of London and the applicant entering into an appropriate legal agreement which is linked to planning application 21 AP 3246, which of course is 2 to 10 Ossory Road, to secure the delivery of affordable housing by no later than the 2nd of December 2022. Second application. Do we need to agree this? Told you it'd be complicated.
Sorry about that, Chair. I just think because we've got an additional condition being added, I think it's best if it's referred to in the recommendation 1. So you refer to the condition regarding the hours of operation for the communal amenity space being 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. And then you can move on to recommendation 2, which is to do with the section 106. So you're just basically referring to, so as you've just read out, exactly as you've just read out, but as part of the motion you say with the additional condition relating to hours of operation for communal amenity space.
I'll repeat what you just said, but Thank you. I've read the motion out with the addition of the hours of operation from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. As agreed. I'll now go on to paragraph 2 of the recommendation. In the event that the requirement of A are not met by the 2nd of December 2022, that the Director of Planning be authorised to refuse planning permission, if appropriate, for the reasons set out in paragraph 228 of this report. Okay, so that is the resolution. I'll now go along to each member and ask if you are for against or abstain the motion. And I'll do this by name, and I want to get the names right this time because...
Sorry, Chair, we'd need a seconder as well, if you want.
Is there a seconder? Is there a seconder? Thank you. I will now begin. I'll ask Councillor Cath-Witham, are you for, against, or abstain the motion?
Against.
Councillor James Coldwell, for, against, or abstain the motion?
For, Chair.
Councillor Richard Livingstone, for, against, or abstain the motion?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Damon O'Brien, for, against, or abstain the motion?
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Dan Whitehead, for, against, or abstain the motion?
For, Chair.
Councillor Bill Williams, for, against, or abstain the motion?
For, Chair.
And Councillor Cleo Soames, for, against, or abstain the motion?
Abstention.
Thank you. And I'm Councillor Martin Seaton, and I'm for the motion. The motion is carried. Okay. Now, second motion. So we agreed. I'm going to read from the yeah, thank you. So we just need to get the correct wording here, and we agree. Very good. So again, just to make it clear, we're now referring to the second application, of course, which is Ossory Road. And I just want to make reference, quote the reference number as appropriate. There we go. So this of course, is item 6.2, reference 21 AP 3246, which, of course, is Ossory, 2 to 10 Ossory Road. And the motion is as follows. That planning permission be granted subject to conditions and referred to the Mayor of London and the applicant enter into appropriate legal agreement which is linked to the planning application 21 AP 3247, which of course is Creden House, to secure the delivery of affordable housing by no later than the 2nd of December 2022. In the event that the requirement of A are not met by the 2nd of December 2022, the Director of Planning and Growth be authorised to refuse planning permission, if appropriate, for the reasons set out in paragraph 232 of this report. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Bill Williams. And I will now go through the names sequentially, and this time ensure all names are read out. So I'll begin with Councillor Cath-Witham. Are you for, against, abstain the motion?
Against, Chair.
Councillor Jane Caldwell, for, against, abstain the motion.
For, Chair.
Councillor Richard Livingstone, for, against, abstain the motion.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Damon O'Brien, for, against, abstain the motion.
For, Chair.
Councillor Cleo Soames, for, against, abstain the motion.
Against, sir.
Thank you. Councillor Dan Whitehead, for, against, abstain the motion.
For, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Bill Williams, for, against, abstain the motion.
For, Chair.
And I'm Councillor Martin Seaton, and I'm for the motion. The motion is carried. I want to thank all those who contributed to this meeting. Thank you very much for your contribution, and I wish you safe journey home. Good night. Good night.